Hey everybody, I did a perfume trade and I want to talk to you about it. This is my first ever perfume trade, and so this is a haul from me. So for those of you who think, oh, perfume is so expensive and this, that, and the other, and once I buy a fragrance, I use about 1/3 to 1/2 of the bottle, and I'll never be able to finish it. Guess what? Other people will want your fragrance and trade for their fragrance. So you can epiphany. Just trade your expensive fragrance that you're not using for somebody else's expensive fragrance that they're not using. Okay, we are at about the 1 minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and do this trade haul. And she left me a lovely note here, which I am going to read to you. Connie, Merry Christmas! Isn't every day a day to celebrate Jesus? Amen. She started this off saying Merry Christmas. Now, I can tell you up front, I only had one bottle that she wanted, but she really wanted that bottle, and she said, that she would do a trade for me. She didn't have anything that I really wanted. So I just said, I'm going to send you this bottle because this is something you really want. I have it. I'm not using it. It's one of my favorite fragrances, but I'm not using it. And guys, you cannot hold on to fragrance indefinitely. I wanted my favorite fragrance to be used, and she said she would love it and use it. So I traded it off with her. I'll get it again another time. God is able. And here was my issue. Another reason why I did the trade. I've been wearing Le Fil Est, I'm getting this wrong, Serge Lutens Le Fil de Berlin. I've been wearing that fragrance and I love it. It smells like expensive lipstick. It smells like a rose. It's enduring. But now that we're in the springtime, we're not using heaters. The air's not so cool. When I would go to my prayer meetings, which I go to prayer meeting like several times a week. It was a little suffocating in the prayer space. I want to wear fragrance when I pray. That's just something I want to do. I want to wear a fragrance that smells kind of holy. So I don't want to wear, the fragrance I traded her was my Olympia. I didn't do a review on it before I got it, but if I ever get it again, I'll do a review. It smells like the ocean. And when people come into church and I'm praying for them, I don't want them to smell like the ocean, very sea ocean, like I'm licking on an ice cream cone. I love that fragrance, but I just didn't think that was appropriate. So I was hoping to get something that was appropriate for the situation, but not smothering. La Fil Est Berlin, or La Fil de Berlin, is very appropriate. It smells like somebody in a church, somebody who would pray. It smells like that. I got my Boucheron, smells like that. But all these fragrances are a little too much right now for my little tiny church. If you're in a big church, have at it. If you got 1,000 people in your church, but mine is a small, intimate church. So I needed something. And she said, yeah, I think I got some stuff that'll work for you. So she sent me some fragrances here that I've never smelled, didn't know if they would work or not, but I'm going to give it a try and see how it works out for me. This is the fragrance that she told me would work for me. It's called Valencia Paris. It says 10 Avenue George, and this is La Essence. So this is a small size. It's only 1 ounce. Comes in this cute little package here. And I don't have any idea how much these fragrances cost. They don't sell this fragrance in my area anymore. The bottle is adorable. It's an adorable bottle. Oh, it smells nice. it has a little rose in it. I can smell that lipsticky rose like my La Phyllis Berlin, but it's a much lighter scent. So I don't even know if this will last. I'm trying to make sure I don't spray the air. Let me just. It's got a lemon in there, but I do smell a little bit of a rose in there. So this might work. It smells somewhat formal, but it's not extremely formal. Yeah, I think this will work. So hopefully this doesn't turn on me, and that'll get me through the summer. Maybe 2 years. Maybe that'll get me 2 years if I don't have to use too much. It's nice. It's a nice fragrance that you would be happy to run into on a lady at church. That's good. Praise the Lord for that. Okay. I like 1980s blow you out the room fragrance. I will tell you that in all honesty. And she sent me Beautiful. I am not a big fan of Beautiful. It is definitely a 90s fragrance, and I'm more of an 80s kind of girl. I'm the ones that people nowadays say, oh, it gives you a headache kind of fragrances. Beautiful is a little bit lighter than that. It's a little bit more austere. This is a travel size, but let me see. That might work too, because I need something lighter for church. Let me see what this one's like. Okay, now this is aged well. It's got a vintage smell to it that I like. Yeah, so this is an older Beautiful. And I don't remember it smelling that strong. So this one would work too. But I'm going to have, this is stronger than this one, the Balanchine. So this is a vintage Beautiful. You know a vintage scent because the top notes have gone a little bit sour. So it smells smoky at the top note. It doesn't have those bright top notes. Top notes leave you after a while, but your base notes and your middle notes will stay with you, like your vanillas and your woods and your spices. That is enduring. But the white flowers tend to go. Okay, so now I'm smelling Lily of the Valley and oak moss in here. I love oak moss, so that'll work too. So I can use those two there. And then she gave me a little bottle of Bulgari. I must admit, I'm not the biggest Bulgari fan, and I don't know which one this one is. I've never tried this one. I used to use a coral Bulgari when I was younger, and that fragrance, in my opinion, was very youthful and young. And now that I'm mature, I want fragrances that are a little bit more where people say they're, oh my goodness, I was pulling it out the wrong way. I don't know about this one. This smells like a summery fragrance. I don't know which one it is though. I'll have to look it up because Bulgari puts all their fragrances in this same container and I can't see the name on it. But this seems like, for me, a summer fragrance. The other two are a little bit stronger. I'll look this up, but if you know which Bulgari is in the blue, I'm smelling some green notes in here. And that's nice. Okay, we have one more fragrance here in a box, and then she sent me a bunch of samples because she knew more about fragrances than I did. Oh, she sent me, she has here, this is Dior Addict. And as you can see, she's just got she told me she just had a little bit left in there. I love this fragrance, Dior Addict. And this is definitely a vintage. You can see the juice has gotten darker. And this was originally a 1 ounce size. This is the Eau de Parfum. Oh, this was a 1.7 ounce size. All I've ever seen is a 3 ounce bottle. I'm a big bottle buying girl, so I don't normally buy these smaller ones. This is so cute. I love it. And this smells, oh, that smells so good. Let me see. I know I sprayed that other one on here and it's not much juice in here. Oh, this is wonderful. It smells so good. This is the original Dior Addict. So this one probably is from like 2012 or something like that. Just gorgeous. It has, I wanted this one. And I probably would have ended up buying that size, but I went to the store to buy it for the Sephora sale, and they reformulated. They took the sandalwood out, and they switched the neroli with a lighter, like, not an oil, but a lighter, like, vapor or essence or something like that. This smells like a tangy orange with incense and sandalwood. So the sandalwood is the incense. It has a little bit of that nag champra smell to it. I just love it. And this little bit here should last me for a while, because that's a special occasion fragrance. And of course, I will try to do a trade and get another bottle. Now this, whatever this is, smells a lot like my Boucheron. And she sent me, this is a decant in this beautiful little container here. And she sent me Womanity. I've never smelled this Thierry Mugler Womanity because they don't sell it in my area. We don't, I live in the Compton area, and certain fragrance houses, they just won't sell in our area. We have other fragrances that are harder for other people to get a hold of, but this smells really nice in the lotion. I do smell an oceany smell in here, and I smell an oceany smell, and I'm overwhelmed with an oceany smell from this Womanity. I don't smell the salt of the ocean, but what I'm smelling is definitely reminiscent of the sea. And I do smell like the smell of a human being. You know, that sounds weird, but this lotion definitely smells like skin, and a skin that I would associate with a woman near the ocean. So that's interesting, and they named it Womanity. And this is just the lotion, so that might be a little bit different from the actual cream. And this is Chloe Narcis. I know I love Chloe Narcis. So she gave me a decant of that, quite a generous decant. So I will definitely use this summer. Oh, that's good. This smells like tuberose and narcissus without the jasmine note that a lot of modern fragrances, most of the modern fragrances, they're going to have jasmine, tuberose, and narcissus. Sorry about my accent in saying that. But this has tuberose and a strong narcissus. I can't say that, but the narcissus flower is in the daffodil family, and I used to grow them. So every spring I used to smell that flower. So this just reminds me of spring. It's very crash, very gardeny, very green. It is not sophisticated, but I love it. And it smells like spring. That one again smells like a vintage. You can kind of tell the vintage because they have a lot more spice in them. Oh, Elie Saab Le Perfume. She sent me a decant of this one. We had talked about me trying this Le Perfume. This is her signature scent. So it's very generous of her to send me a decant of her signature scent, because she and I, we are not rich people. We are just regular folks trying to make it happen. Oh, this is so beautiful. You guys, Elie Saab Le Perfume, this is a wedding scent. If you were considering, if you were planning a wedding in the next year or two, you might want to get a hold of this fragrance here. It's called Elie Saab Le Parfum. This is gorgeous. I had told her I was actually looking for a dupe of it because Elie Saab is an expensive fragrance. And she told me that she did have the dupe, but the dupe doesn't last as long as Elie Saab. So for all the spraying you would have to do with the cheaper drugstore, it's better to just save up and get the actual Elie Saab Le Perfume. This is on the order of Chloe. It's on the order of Oscar de la Renta's Something Blue. This just smells like a young, beautiful bride in a white dress full of hope and happiness. She hasn't lived to get jaded like us mature women. You know, no tragedies ever happened to her. She's marrying her high school sweetheart after being prom queen. You know, that's what this Elie Saab Le Parfum smells like. Light white flowers, no tuberose, a light pink rose is in there. It's just a beautiful fragrance. And you can often find this Elie Saab on discount. Look at the generosity here. She sent me quite a few decants here. When you see containers like this, somebody made it. That's very generous. That is way more than a normal sample would be. So let me see. So the next time I do a trade with somebody, because I was curious about a lot of her fragrances, I will be able to, oh my goodness. This is a fragrance that I love and have been pining for. This is Dune Vintage. I love this fragrance. This is what I wanted to wear when I go to prayer meeting. I go 3 times a week. This is what I wanted to wear for the summer, and this is enough for me to get through, probably more than the summer, because this is Dune Vintage. The Dune that you smell now, the new Dune, does not smell like this, but I like the new Dune as well. I like the new Dune as well as I like the Vintage, even though it's different. It's still, oh my goodness. It starts off with that mature ladies perfume scent. You couldn't sell perfume in the 80s unless that first note smelled like perfume, because we didn't want to waste our money. And then you hit this raunchy green, foresty, woody, herbal note that just sells it for me. It's full of very dark green leaves from the forest, like little animals are eating leaves on trees, elephants are eating leaves on trees, that kind of thing. And I just think that, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. And it just started. And these real fragrances, they develop over 2 or 3 hours. So you put these on, these vintage scents, the trick with vintage scents, you put them on like 30 minutes to an hour before you leave the house. They will last 12 hours, no problem. They've been in this world for a few decades. They will definitely last at least 12 hours. And if they should touch your clothing, you may wash that clothing and it might still, this scent might still be in there. Oh my goodness, it's already changed, and the orange scent is coming up in this. This is now full of, it smells like if in Shakespeare's day, the prostitutes used to sell oranges. So when they said she's selling oranges, they were really saying she's a prostitute, because that was the guise that they used. And the theater was like the nightclub back then. So this smells like freshly picked oranges from the tree, and that you gather them in a basket. And if you've ever smelled that orange zest from freshly picking the oranges from the tree, they just fill a space with their odor, and they taste so delicious. And that deliciousness is associated with passion because of that profession. And this now smells like that. And the person who would pick the oranges, I had an orange tree my whole childhood pretty much. You're gonna smell the bark of the tree and everything. It's all in here. And we do have dunes in Southern California. So, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. So glad to have that. And she knew I wanted it, and that fragrance was not one that suited her. So she was happy to pass the decant along to me. And then here she has, oh my goodness, Penn Hill's Australia. Wow. This smells like oysters and fish. Penn Hill's Australia. I'm not going to spray all of these, but the first note that I smell on this Penn Hill's is oysters. Now that is a very unique scent to start with. Then I smell flowers and spices. So this might be another what they would call greenie. A lot of scents nowadays are using the scent of the ocean, including the scent of the fish as an undernote. And that's very interesting and modern. So I guess she's trying to modernize me. Musty Cartier Gold. I wore this in the 90s. I love this scent. In the 90s, I do associate it with a past lover who bought it for me, who jilted me and married somebody else. That's life. I'm a mature woman. But it still smells beautiful. So yeah, he took me to the Cartier store, bought me that perfume, and broke my heart. One of the many men who broke my heart. My heart was so sensitive back then. Nothing like the lioness girded in armor that she is today. Perk You. She said this was a good oak moss scent. Oh my goodness. She's right. This Perk You, it's called Perk You. I've not heard of that fragrance. Maybe it's a vintage fragrance. You can even look at the juice and it's green. This is an oak moss bomb. So you have to get it vintage. Unless they found a way to make synthetic smell that smells like oak mark. Perk You, if you're interested. That's a good scent to wear in the summertime. You know, oak moss, it's not too heavy, but it's a nice scent to wear. And this one, what is it? Because it should be on here. Okay. Esprit de Oscar. So Esprit de Oscar is another decant she made for me, or she traded with me. I love Oscar de la Renta, and this has the smell of Oscar de la Renta, but it is a lighter version. So she sent me a lot of fragrances that will definitely work for me. Oh, this Dune is just doing it for me. Dune Vintage. It's amazing. The new modern Dune, it just doesn't develop like that. And then we have this one here that I don't know the name of. And it's not on a little note. Oh my goodness, you guys. She sent me some more decants. All of these fragrances are going to work for me, I think. I just have to try. I'll just wear the one that I wanted the most first and save these. Oh, look at how she packaged all of these. Just full of love, full of love. Oh, Haute Couture EDP. She and I talked about this Haute Couture Eau de Parfum. In my area, we have the Haute Couture from the house of Givenchy. We have the Eau de Toilette, and it's just a joke, you guys. I smelled it. It smells great, but it's way too light. It's nothing that I could sink my teeth into. Yeah. This smell, the Eau de Parfum, if you want Haute Couture and you are over 25, this Haute Couture Eau de Parfum smells like raspberries and cream. It's fully developed. It's going to go through the different denotations for itself. It's amazing. That Haute Couture Eau de Toilette is a pithy, maybe if you live in a place that's got a lot of humidity and moisture. Maybe that'll bloom on your skin, but I'm in dry, arid Southern California, and we have a wind, so if something travels on the wind, that would be fine, but this Haute Couture EDP is amazing for my purposes. Yeah. And it's definitely a spring summer fragrance. I'm glad she let me try that because I had asked about it. And what have we here? Oh, Iris Ganado. This must be something fancy. We don't even have Iris Ganado. I don't even know what house that's from, but Iris is another great scent. If you put that name in there, Iris Ganado, if you put part of that in there, usually Google's kind enough to tell you the rest of it. The only Iris fragrance I know is Commodities Iris. Oh my goodness. This smells like 100% orris root. And I am told that orris root is one of the most expensive fragrances you can get. This is definitely a true iris. It smells like orris root. And I'm an herbalist, and we use orris root to ground fragrance. So there was a time when every fragrance had iris in it. And that's why people say mature fragrances smell powdery. But it's because we weren't using chemicals to make the fragrance last. We were using ground up orris root. And orris root is an iris. So that's why. I got a couple more decants here. And what have we here? Chanel Beige. I have heard a lady named Sheree rave about Chanel Beige. And Chanel is another house that doesn't want to be associated with Compton. So it's very difficult for me to be able to go to a store, smell Chanel, and buy it. This is very ladylike. The Chanel Beige reminds me of Tiffany, which is another fragrance that I have to leave my neighborhood to buy. And I refuse to do that, guys. If I have to leave my neighborhood to buy a fragrance, I will just find a fragrance that works in my neighborhood, or I will trade fragrances with people who've already bought it, because they were able to smell it in their neighborhood, and I trust their noses. This is very ladylike. It's very light. You guys, Chanel Beige is another wedding fragrance. If you are a bride that's in your 30s, you're a little bit too mature to be wearing a bubblegum wedding, Cinderella-esque Prince Charming fragrance. You're now a grown woman, and you've been a grown woman for a decade, fully grown. Everybody calls you grown. Chanel Beige would be a wonderful fragrance to wear for your wedding. Like, say, if you're a professional woman and you're getting married, you're still young and beautiful. Chanel Beige. I'd even say if you were having a second wedding or a second husband, maybe you've got grown children, Chanel Beige would be a beautiful wedding fragrance. I don't even know if they, come to think of it, I think even some stores that sell Chanel don't have that Chanel Beige. Altar de Roses. Oh my goodness. I don't know what house sells this fragrance, Altar de Roses, but I love rose scents. This smells like the Catholic Rosary. Yeah, this smells like the rose that you use for altar roses, which is I can't remember if that is the damask rose, but it's a rose that's considered a red rose. It's a single rose. It's not a multi-petaled rose. And I actually grow this rose. So it's the rose that herbalists use because the whole thing is edible. It makes the flowers. And what you do is you take the petals, if you're Catholic or have been to Catholic school, you take the petals of the altar rose, that's why it's called altar rose, and you roll them into little beads on your rosary. And when you say your prayers with your rosary, which is made of these kind of roses, which is why it's called altar roses, because the whole church smells like this plus incense. So this fragrance takes me back to my childhood when I was always saying, sister, sister, sister. Oh, I loved my time when I went to Catholic school. I loved it. And I loved my sisters. I kept in touch with them well after I left that school. But this is a fragrance that it has a sense memory to me of rosary beads that only somebody who either went to Catholic school or is actually Catholic would know about that experience. So that's my whole haul. She was very generous. She was very fair because I traded her a 2.5-ounce bottle, and she traded me a variety of decants for me to experience different fragrances. I got fragrances that I wanted so badly. And you know, nobody else actually would trade with me, but I had a fragrance that she wanted and I had a full bottle, and God blessed me. I wanted Dune and I wanted Dior Addict vintage. So I just got a little bit of that Dior Addict, but you know, I'll wear that, and you know, maybe I'll be on to the next time. Oh, this Dune now, I've had it on this whole video, which is about a half, I guess I've had it on 20 minutes. It's now got to its last stage, and it is this decant right here is what I'm going to wear to prayer meeting for the summer. It has a rose in it. It has a blending with a orange in it, and it has sandalwood, but it has the rind of the orange is in here. Oh my goodness. I love the fragrance Dune for that reason. Still on the hunt for Safari, so hopefully I'll be able to figure out a trade with somebody at some point for Safari. And thank you for coming over here and watching me share with you what I got in trade. If you have any questions about any of these fragrances or you want me to follow up at a later point, just leave me a comment and I will get back to you, because I'm going to continue trying all of these decants for a very long time. And I got to go check on dinner now. Anyway, thank you. Jesus loves you, and I love you with all the Jesus in my heart. Be blessed.